Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got Ruger's entry into the high capacity super small gun market. It's the Ruger Max 9. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis Axe and Core belts. You'll find a link that you can sign up for Big Daddy Unlimited. They actually have things in stock and usually at a lower price than other places. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. Thank you. This is their entry into that arena that everybody's going to of single stack at the top, double stack at the bottom, so that you get 10 or more rounds of capacity in the footprint that previously would have held about 6 or 7. And like the majority of the others in that realm, it's a 9mm, very popular caliber these days. The claim to fame for this and other guns like it is it's very thin. This one is 0.95 inches thick. They're not particularly long. This one is 6 inches long. And with the flush mag in, it's only 4.25 inches top to bottom. So it's relatively easy to conceal. It's lightweight. It weighs 18.4 ounces. So it's not a heavy gun. And you get a lot of capacity in that footprint. And like all the others, they've done it by making the magwell walls thinner. But the nylon material that these are made out of is very strong, so you can do that. And with the single stack at the top, you get a narrow footprint up here at the top. Now, this magazine is the 10 round, and it's a flush mag, and it does come with a little pinky extender if you choose to put it on the flush mag. And this other mag is 12 rounds. You'll notice the finish is different. If I get the camera to focus, you can see this is that nickel plate. This one doesn't appear to have that coating. I've seen that in some other videos where the larger mag doesn't have the coating, but newer ones that you buy do. So it's functioned flawlessly. I don't know if that was an oversight or a decision made somewhere along the lines, but in this case the 12 round mag, which is what this holds, doesn't have that coating. But I had no trouble with it. It worked perfectly at the range. It's just not as nice looking. It's not as shiny. The studio lights are kind of hiding the fact that this is kind of a bronzish color. It's a really nice looking magazine. Nice and shiny and smooth, easy to keep clean. The gun itself has a few cool features. It has front and rear serrations, and they're really easy to get a hold of, either from the front or the rear. It isn't optics ready. You take this plate off, you insert a couple pins that come with it in a little baggie, and that acts as the guide, and you can put a red dot of your choice on it. And it's also got a loaded chamber peephole right here. The existing sights that come with it, the front sight is tritium fiber optic, so it's good at night, good during the day, easy to see. It's a little bit on the large side. It'll have a tendency to cover up a bullseye, but it's really easy to see. The rear sight is a blackout. It is dovetail. You could replace it if you want, but you notice there's a U cut into it, similar to the Glocks. If you didn't like the total blackout, it would be easy to fill that U in with white or orange or some other color to end up having a sight that's not black at the back. I like that they did that. If they're going to have a blackout sight to please a lot of the red dot people when they co-witness, don't like the rear sight to have any coloration, but they made it really easy with either some wax or some paint to fill it in and make that a white U. Or you could replace it if you see fit. Let me tilt it up so we can get a better look at that front sight. So you see it's got a white ring around it along with the fiber optic. So pretty much under any condition, you're going to be able to easily see that sight. A little bit of fluff there. Overall, it's a nice looking gun. The texture is aggressive enough to be able to hold on to it here on the front strap and the back strap, which is, by the way, not replaceable. But it's a nice, easy to hold texture without getting in the way or hurting you. This happens to be the Pro version that does not come with a thumb safety. The regular version does come with a thumb safety, and they do have a 10 round only version of this for those in restricted states. And the nice thing about this is it doesn't come with the annoying magazine disconnect that Ruger tends to like to put on their guns. And of course it has a warning on the side that it will fire with the magazine removed. I like the fact that it doesn't have the magazine disconnect, but Ruger kind of likes to put that on many of their guns. From a trigger perspective, I'm going to have to put the gun down for a second to change a battery, and I'll be right back. So let's get back to the trigger. The trigger on this is quite nice. It does have a toggle like Glocks and many of the others. It's an inertial safety. It disappears very easily and very light. There's a reasonable amount of take up, but it's very light. and then a bit of creep through the wall, but it's a nice wall. It's relatively light. And the reset is a little on the longish side. It resets right about there, and then you're right on the wall, and then you pull through it again. Now, one thing I noticed is you can kind of notice the wall when you're sitting here at the table and you're doing it slowly to demonstrate it, but on the range it pulls through very smoothly and very quickly. So it actually, especially during live fire, was quite a nice trigger. This gun was actually pretty easy to shoot well. It was easy to control. It was reasonable in the recoil. Of course, all these little tiny guns are going to have a little bit more recoil than some of the others, but it was very manageable. So they've done a good job on the trigger and the overall ergonomics, and of course the capacity. So let's go ahead and take the gun apart. Now here's the point where I do have to take away a few points. This isn't bad. You flip this thing down and you see that pin. You line this up with the pin with the half moon cut, but the pin won't come out on its own. It's under a little bit of tension. So you do need to use a pick or something to push it through. And then once you push it through, of course I got my pick stuck, then it'll drop out. And you do have to pull the trigger. I pulled it earlier. And it slides apart. It's not hideous, but I do kind of take away points generally when I have to use any kind of tool to disassemble a gun other than just using the controls that are on it. From a frame perspective, full-length rails on both sides. Really nice solid rails. And very simple fire control group. When I pull the trigger, you'll see this little arm kicks up. This is for the drop safety. And if I hadn't interfered with it with my finger, it definitely positively retracts it when you take your finger off the trigger. So that's a component of the drop safety. When I go back here and look at the slide, the back here is the drop safety piston, and that's activated by that little arm. Captive dual recoil spring, quite common these days on pretty much all guns, but especially these little small ones. Ruger's kind of signature cannon-shaped barrel, so this flares out a little bit to get a little bit more positive lockup. A lot of Ruger guns have that. Nicely polished feed ramp, but it's not a mirror polish. And a well-manufactured barrel. Conventional rifling. Overall, it's machining on this is very well done. I'll show you the rest of the slide with the barrel removed. Everything's well machined and smooth. No burrs or chatter or tool marks. Pretty much a very well constructed gun. And that is kind of typical of Ruger. Ruger tends to have good machining quality. They've had some issues sometimes with some of their latest semi-automatic offerings, but overall they work pretty good. If this pin doesn't go all the way down in, you may need to seat it with a pick to make sure that it doesn't hang up on the slide. I had to give it a little push. It was sticking up just a hair. And then you flip this little slide back up and you're back in business. Just so in case you couldn't see, it's this hole right here that you push the pick through, and that I got my pick hung up in. I pushed the pick too far in, and the fat end of the pick was bigger than the hole a little bit. But it's right here at the end of my thumb. Or if I take the pick, right there. Now the good news is, with this design, the pin can't go back the other way, of course. And with this little flip up, this blocks the pin and keeps it in place, so it cannot come forward when you're firing. If you forget to lock this up, it is possible the pin could walk out and jam up the slide. But if this is flipped up like it belongs and it's very positive, it's not going to come down on its own, then the chances of this thing having a problem with that pin during operation is near zero. You can reverse the magazine catch. Failed to mention that a little bit earlier, but there's no other ambidextrous features on the gun. But got a small package with the flush mag and a 2-finger grip. And if I put the full-size mag in, of course it's a little bit longer at this point, blends nicely, and it's a full 3-finger grip. So you can carry that full-size mag as your backup mag, and this as your main carry mag, and have a grip that's easier to hide. A few of the other ergonomic features, you notice there's a noticeable undercut under the trigger, so you can get right up in there. Good solid beaver tail, so you're not going to get slide bit by this. Kind of an oversized little bit trigger guard here. It's kind of difficult to get a big glove in the front, but once you start to take up the trigger, there's a lot of room and some serrations at the front here if you want to put your finger there, which is kind of a long haul to get your finger there because it is a longer front to back trigger guard. Beveling at the front, and didn't mention it earlier, but there's a bit of a crown to the barrel, which is uncommon in these really small guns. So it's got a bit of a crown, and of course everything's beveled at the front to make it easier to holster. So they've really thought through all of the different ergonomic features you would want in a gun like this. With an MSRP of $499 for all three variants of it, the 10 round, the manual safety, and this the Pro version. But what we kind of did notice is that the version with the manual safety was selling a little bit under MSRP, sometimes $50 cheaper. So the manual thumb safety version may not be as popular, but just under $500 for the ones you choose. It's actually a really good entry into that market, and it competes well with many of the others in this same territory. So if you're looking for one of these high capacity super small guns and not really thrilled by any of the other offerings, this is definitely a good choice, especially if you like Ruger handguns. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, kind of everywhere. And thank you.